Hello gamers, the deck today is Disdain Dragon, and unlike more traditional lists that you may see on the internet right now, I'm playing a more aggressive personalized list which completely forgoes the late game potential of this deck by going all in on the early game, on fighting on the early game with a more aggressive list. Basically, yes, once you get to turn 9, turn 10, you can expect to lose the game with this deck. Not always, but you can expect to. But so, what is different? Well, first off, I'm not running the second best RAM in the game, which is Dufeng, which is also the only other RAM other than Dragon Sign. And also, I adding a lot more 2-drops. Well, one copy of Fighting only because I only have one copy, but I also added Little Dragon Nanny for more 2-drops, and also Ifa Wind Rider for more storm damage early on. Then comparatively late game side, I dropped Fanny. I only run one copy of Genesis Dragon Reborn, and Genesis Dragon Reborn here is only really as contingency. Just in case I get there and last ditch effort, I want to pray for something in the draw. Genesis Dragon is my target. I would rather one extra copy of Forte and one extra copy of Azure Infrit, but once again, I'm not rich, so you got to make do with what you have. And for the Merman and Neptune, I cut them down to 2 each since I ideally only want to see them once per game. Merman on turn 5 one time and Neptune on turn 7 one time. I don't want to draw both since, well, the more often you draw them, the less often you have to draw your game-winning cards like our Muse, Forte, Odin, etc, etc. So yes, also I run Draconic Berserker. This card is fine, I would say. It's good stats for cost. It's just a guy, and he's plenty difficult for some classes to deal with. Not all of them. Like any bot-centric archetype will be able to deal with this really easily. But if any slower decks, this might catch them off guard. So this is why he's here just as a 4-drop. That in case I don't find a Dragon Sign to bridge into Forte or like into my 7-drops. Just for example. Then again, just to go back to the early game a little bit more, one of your best plays on turn 3 is Ferocious Flame and Devotee of Disdain combo. This can clear out basically any 2 to 3 drops in the game, and also draws you a card, a Dragoncraft follower specifically, so it could be any of your win conditions here, or it could just be another one of these early games that you could probably just toss away and hope for the best. How does this deck fare? It's really inconsistent. Like, I cannot in good faith recommend this to anyone other than those hardcore Dragoncraft player, but even then you might want to try out some of the more tried and tested decks list on the net right now. Like mine, I only tested it myself. There are times where I go on like 7 win streaks. There are times where I go on 7 lose streaks. Like just to show you guys. Like if you ignore my Abyss wins, right? Like this was my win streak after I reached Grandmaster. I have a 2-4-6 win streak as of this point in time against some of the decks. To be frank, I got really lucky these games, and I will probably show like 5 of these games here, considering they are rather fast, and I think it's a good learning opportunities. But at the same time, right, the exact same list also can go on like lose streaks as well. Like here, 4 lose streak, those are all from the exact same list with like this one win every 3 games, which is alright, I suppose. So yeah, it really depends on how you draw and how your opponent draws as well. If your opponent couldn't answer your board, you basically just run away with the game. So the actual list I'm gonna share with you guys that if you guys are interested, will be this one. This is what I think is what I would assume to be a more optimized list. Less Genesis Dragon, and you know, more Azure Infrit, more Forte, and more Phylines. And maybe you can tweak the ratios of the 2-drops a little bit, but that's really up to your own personal taste. But yes, I hope you enjoy the gameplay I prepared for you guys. If you're new to the channel and you're interested in Shadowverse content, do leave a like, leave a subscribe, and with that out of the way, let's get right on to the gameplay. Oh yeah, like when I mean this deck is highly inconsistent, I really mean it. This deck is wildly inconsistent. Like, my god, like sometimes you have the best hand ever, the other times you just have the worst. But you could like this deck. When I played it, there's a period of time where I managed to go up to the Sapphire. I went to Sapphire group, but there are also periods of time where I just straight up couldn't win. I dropped all the way back down to Topaz. But yes, back to the game. One of our best 2-drops Little Dragon Nanny. This is particularly good against a certain subset of cards, especially those that decks that don't have a direct burn damage, so they couldn't deal with this Fire Dragon Whelp, for example. In which case, this one extra damage could actually get you a lot of damage in through the long run. And as you can see, I did manage to get the Disdain Ferocious Flame combo, and that was really good because that netted me basically 2 free damage in face here, which eventually, you know, they'll be able to heal it back. But, you know, you have to make concessions here. There I traded because specifically for Zirconia. In case I traded that specifically for this card. Like I didn't pause it soon enough, but you see that they do have Zirconia. If I had let that follower up and they played a Zirconia, it would be like infinitely harder for me to answer Zirconia boards with my current hand. So I was forced to trade that 1/1 in to remove it. But at least I still can push 2 damage with the Devotee of Disdain. Doing this way makes it so that I can answer it using Seasoned Merman as a card that could be used as an answer. If you're feeling extremely risky, you could use Forte and just go face, but they have quite a number of answers for Forte. One being Vows, the other being who is it? Congregator of Observation, which is really bad for me. If I were to do that, I would take way too much damage, which is why I didn't go for that play. I decided to save Forte for later turn, and you can see they do have Congregant of Observation, which does this board really easily. As you can see, not a big surprise there, and you should definitely be playing around these cards after all. Against the sword matchup in particular, I feel free. I actually just don't feel bad just using Odin, since they barely have any wards that we have to worry about. And even if they do have wards, they are usually like white boards, so like Odin is best used whenever you can, just to push for face damage. So yes, they managed to clear Odin. That doesn't matter. Our opportunity go and here is just to go straight face. So we play Forte, we go face, we push them down to a whopping 2 hit points by turn 7, I suppose. And I set up another Dragon Whelp just in case I need the additional damage. You see, they used the burn here to remove Forte, which they were out of options. And they try to heal, thinking they are safe, but thankfully we have the other Forte in hand, which is just enough for exact lethal. Very lucky game, but quite a good display of what this deck could potentially do if you draw right.
I will not falter.
So that was up against Sword, which is probably one of the more bot-centric classes that we can face, which is pretty good, considering if you can burn them down through their board with a good hand, right? I think that does speak testament to like the potential of this deck. But now we have a game up against Dragon, which will either be it's either Ram or Disdain Dragon, both of which usually go for a late game win condition, unlike me, which goes for early game win condition. So that's that. So obviously turn 2 play, I do use the extra play point here to just get rid of the 2/2 though. This does wrestle board control back to my side of the field, which means that if possible I'll be able to push for damage. Unfortunately they do have a 3-drop to answer me, which is sad, but unfortunately that's what you have to do, make do with sometimes. So I do take turn 3 to ramp, and they did play Tablet of Tribulations, which suggests that they are going for either a Cocytus or Fanny OTK with the Cocytus, which is really good news for us. It means that they are very slow, and with our Mirror of Storm, right, we could easily kill them. Against Dragon matchups, I tend to like to go for wider boards, which is why I traded in with the 5/5 to keep this 2/2 healthy. And you can see how when they played Liufen to answer my 5/5, it was a huge mistake. Since it left 6 damage under the board, and with a Forte being played, right, they could not answer this board even with Neptune. Like Neptune will probably be their best quote-unquote answer to heal in any other given circumstances, but in this case it just straight up lost them the game because they couldn't answer a Forte otherwise, and they are forced to use Burn Knight, which left them very vulnerable to storms, and they just lose just like that.
Stand proud.
just that easy. It's just that easy. It's really funny because all these games are going by so fast. I barely have time to talk through all the plays that we could make. But hey, good thing. Isn't that great? That's like what you want from this deck anyways. It is very aggressive after all.
Why limit yourself to one dimension?
So this time we're up against Rune. Don't worry, it's not Spell Boost Rune. Although I will say against Spell Boost Rune, you have a chance. Like maybe 50-50 at 50-50 if you open a good hand, but if your opponent open too many heals and wards, you lose regardless anyways. But this isn't Spell Boost Rune. I think this is a dirt rune. If you were to ask me, they do play Valharia, which honestly I think is a very bad play early. As you can see, it got answered so easily with Ocean Rider. And now they completely behind on tempo. I have 4 followers on board and frankly way too much damage, which gave me an opportunity to heal and to ramp and to go into either Forte next turn or to go into Ifa. Ifa if I want to answer a bot, for example with a Gilnealist, which they do indeed have. And they use it to completely wipe my bot and heal up just a little bit, which is unfortunate. Here I made the decision to ignore the Gilnealist, I think. Did I? Oh no, I didn't. I answered it actually. I answered it because giving them too much heal is not good, and okay, honestly there was I did spend a minute here thinking whether I should use Forte and just go in phase and hoping that they aren't able to answer it, because if they couldn't answer it, that 2 heal from a Gilnealist would not matter that much. But the moment they can answer Forte, that heal will actually come back to bite me in the butt really badly. So it was a consideration I made, but considering now that I think about it, since I'm up against Dirt Rune, they do have quite a fair bit of target, like non-attack direct spell damage that can just like kill Forte. So it was I think I did make the right choice in using Little Dragon Nanny and also setting up more intimidates that they cannot attack into. So yes. As you can see, that was the right play, because they do have Enchanting Perfumer, which is able to get rid of both of the Intimidate as well as my Forte if I did choose to play her. And then they started adding more followers to try to pressure me back, but unfortunately, here's the thing. We don't need to play into their board at all, considering that we are actually at a really good health total. Like right now they have like 9 damage on board plus 3 from Super Evil if they want to do so. We have them in our lethal range, and because we played Forte, even if they do have another Gilnealist, they couldn't use that Gilnealist to heal. Because since they can use it to reduce the kill my Forte, right? But there isn't a follower for Gilnealist to trade into that heals them. So right now their only options of healing is either 1 Sage Light or 2 a Norman, both of which will completely take out all his play points and will basically leave him vulnerable to another Storm in hand, like Galmux for example, which I do have actually. I'll be honest though, actually if they did play Norman, I would have lost, because I only have 7 here plus 8 from Galmux. So they will be like, I'll be 1 off lethal. But that was a consideration I made. I kind of, actually to be fair, right, if they did have Norman, right, I think I would have lost the game regardless. But if that's the case, I would have gone like Ifa into Draconic Berserker as an answer instead, which would probably do around 8 damage, setting them back up for Galmute lethal. 8 plus 2, so once again they're pushing them to lethal range while wiping the bot completely. So yeah, quite a lot of considerations you have to put into this sort of games, but you also need to know what you can and cannot play around. But here I was playing around 1 Sage Light, 2 Gilnealist, and 3 Unangria, because Unangria can ward up as well, and which will have ruined my Galmux lethal. So leaving these followers up was intentional. So here they went for Odin, which brave play. They were trying to push for damage now, because I don't think they have a better card to answer this. And with just like this, the game is basically sealed. They don't have enough damage, and with that, Galmute can close out the game with her Storm effect.
Like the rest of the world.
See, I have to pause it because like these games are so short just to explain the thought processes. You know, it's how fast these games go by.
Oops.
Genuinely. Now the 4th game I have for you guys is up against Abyss, and Abyss, that this particular list I'm facing is actually mid-range Abyss. Not Mode Abyss. I think Mode Abyss will be slightly more difficult since they do run cards like I believe Devotee of Entwining, which was really good, as well as cards like Supplicant, which is heal, which will be very annoying. But what can you do, right? So our default opener, Little Dragon Nanny on 2, and they play a ward to answer us. Here I just use Ocean Rider and trade in to answer so I can push the damage. Pushing damage should be the utmost priority. There was an alternate way you could use called a Mega Lockout instead, but I don't think it was necessary there since, well, it wasn't, so I didn't. So turn 4, once again Ferocious Flame to clear the Guild list so they don't heal, and also just Ram to go into my 6. Here I was really hoping to draw into my Forte, and they did use their Rage of the Serpents to clear, which is really good for me. They took the 2 damage for free basically, and I didn't even have to do anything. Here I did toss the two Orcas away just to pressure them to do something, but I probably should only have played 1, otherwise they could have healed with the other using Guild list. You know what I mean? But they committed their Aura Gravy to clear, and I top deck Odin, which allowed me to go face for 6, pushing them down to 8 health, which means either a Forte or Galmu top deck will win me the game, which they clearly aren't playing around here. But so if I draw any of those 2 cards, I win. I didn't, so what can you do? So this is what Olivia is here in the deck. She gives us a source of draw, and she does kind of combo a little bit okayish with Disdain, which allows me to draw more cards through Devotee's this normal effect. And note that this is not a once per turn, so if you continue pinging it during the turn, you draw so much more. And I drew a bunch of useless cards, which is upsetting, but what can you do? You can't have everything in life. So it is what it is. They do have the Cerberus though, which shows that this is definitely a mid-range list. And unfortunately, they heal back up to 12, which means it's difficult for me to finish them off like right now. But I did draw Forte a little bit late. It's very unfortunate. I would have loved to play her earlier, honestly. But if I played her earlier, right, it would have been really good into a Cerberus, a Telegraph Cerberus play. Since if that happens, right, Cerberus will not be able to trade the Cocos or the Mimis for like more damage. This is where Intimidate really comes into play, especially for against archetypes that really relies on their followers dying. So, for example, Rune, which bot locks themselves easily if they leave their Ye Tanoshis up, their onions, sorry for those that don't know. And Abyss, for example, who wants their Cocos to die, and any other bot-based deck in general. But I can't go for that here, so we have to go for a Neptune to heal up a little bit and reset the board, so to prepare for another play I could potentially make.
I'll be careful.
Here they went for Congregant. You know what's funny? I feel like they should have just went for the +2/+2. That would have been the objectively more correct play. I'm not certain why they didn't go for that, but it looks like that is what it is. I think I could have pushed for a bit of damage here if the 3 damage landed on the Sheretta instead, but it didn't, so I lost out a little bit of damage here. This turn was a bit iffy because I could have bought Ocean Rider instead. I didn't think about it too much, but I just made it my job to like clear it, and from here on, really, I'm just praying to whoever shuffles my deck, because like there's 1 card in my deck that wins me the game, 2 actually, and I did draw 1 of them, which is Ifa. Extra 2 damage reach without evolve point, which combos really well with Forte and Galmils for 7 damage exactly for game. Lucky draw once again. And last but not least, we have my worst matchup and my most hated matchup against Haven, and specifically Cresthaven. But I think this is Cresthaven at the very least. But it's a really hard matchup, but considering they have quite a fair number of wards, which we don't like. They have heal, which we don't like, but they also don't have a lot of early board presence, which we do like. So if we are able to abuse these early turns, right, and push enough damage, we can basically get ourselves there. Basically, it's really difficult though. I will disclaimer, like this game here, I got really lucky. My Haven opponent either did not draw the right cards, or was just was not assuming the right things, basically. Also, always keep Odin up against Haven. It's just a really good card in general against Haven specifically because of the existence of Wilbert, existence of their amulet that heals for, like Temple of Repose even. Like, this card just always keep Odin against Haven, like just straight up. And only ever use them on cards that have that will give them too much value if it sticks around the field. Okay? Listen, it will come into play very, very soon in this exact game, in fact. So yes, I kept Devotee of Disdain since honestly no reason you could go for either. Like, I'll keep Devotee for combo with Olivia just in case, so that's that. And once again, ramp on turn 4, push for more damage, bring them to 14 on turn 4, which is pretty good. Good thing we didn't convert the Devotee there. They will have been wiped by the Blind Faith. And because we ramp on turn 4, we can skip turn 5 and go straight into Forte on 6, which is a 7 damage burn and putting them into another Forte lethal. And you can see right here, they always play. There's always a Wilbert. I think they went for this play because it's a quote-unquote safest play. Not only does it set up 3 wards, it basically stops any other form of storm follow-up from, except for one very specific card.
Fate's head.
Yes, Odin, duh. This is like a really strong play in any other scenarios except for this current one, which is why always keep Odin for Wilbert. Because frankly, I hate Haven, and this is why. Screw you.
A trial I must overcome.
Just stole the game there, but I take it. So that's the games I have for you. Like, genuinely though, I think that stack has potential. It's just one of the few lists that is constantly ever changing simply because it has to react to whatever your opponents are playing. So this is definitely not something that you queue into as... Actually, no, it is something you queue into brain dead, but the deck building process is where you have to do most of the thinking, actually. Like, half the battle is won before you even queue into the battle menu. But yeah, against that last Haven game though, I really want to put a disclaimer out there because this deck is heavily unfavored into Crest Haven. If they open even 1 or 2 wards in the early game, you basically lose. Unless you specifically has Ferocious Flame plus Devotee Disdain to like answer it. Like, this was the best answer against most of their early game play. But other than that, it's really difficult to win against Crest Haven. But yeah, if you're interested in this deck, do try it out. This is the list, right? I believe I was going to share this list. Here's the QR code. That list is once again in the description down below. And well, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and leave a like. And I'll catch you another time. Bye.